If you're in the market for an ultra-luxurious traditional luxury sedan, it doesn't get much better than a Bentley Flying Spur. This nameplate has been on sale in America for over the past 20 years, and the current model, now in its third generation, first made its debut back in 2020. Now, like you guys also may know, Bentley, like so many other manufacturers, is moving toward full electrification. So for 2026, they are essentially redesigning their entire engine lineup in the Flying Spur family. And today we're actually out here in beautiful Big Sky, Montana, because we're finally able to get behind the wheel of the new base engine. It essentially combines a twin turbocharged V8 with a powerful electric motor, offering up to 50 miles of all-electric range. So the big question I want to answer, if you guys are a wealthy individual looking for an ultra-luxury sedan that also can be fuel efficient and sporty, how does the latest version of the Flying Spur stack up? Stay tuned to find out. Now, before we start talking about the absolutely standout styling of the latest Flying Spur, let's go ahead and talk about what's going on underneath the hood, because that's basically the main story here for 2026. Because if you guys can remember, when this car first launched, it was available in several different V6 hybrid, V8 naturally, or V8 twin turbo, and of course a W12 engine. However, for 2026, the base engine is now a plug-in hybrid. So essentially, we combine the company's signature 4-liter double overhead cam twin turbocharged direct injection V8 with a 140 kilowatt electric motor. Now, the electric motor is basically sandwiched between the V8 and the 8-speed dual clutch transmission. Remember, this vehicle shares a platform with the MSB architecture, which essentially also underpins the latest Porsche Panamera. And the V8 on its own delivers around 512 horsepower, 568 foot-pounds of torque, while the electric motor also delivers an extra 188 horsepower and 332 pound-feet of torque for a grand total of 671 horsepower and 686 foot-pounds of torque. That makes this vehicle, again, the most powerful base engine that you're going to find for a Flying Spur, which is absolutely fantastic. This vehicle, of course, comes standard with the company's signature all-wheel drive system, which, again, is going to help this vehicle put the power down. It also will include features like launch control and an electronic limited slip differential to kind of help put that power down. Now, Bentley wasn't ready to talk about the fuel economy figures just yet for this powertrain, although we did test out a Continental GT Speed, which was rated to get around 13 city, 21 highway. I imagine this powertrain should be similar, although it does have about 100 less horsepower. Now, the electric motor draws its power from a 25.9 kilowatt hour battery pack. Around 21 is usable. Bentley claims, remember, like I said earlier, up to 50 miles of all electric range. So that's absolutely fantastic. The company also says with up to 671 horsepower, you should do 0 to 60 in around 3.8 seconds and reach a top speed of around 168 miles an hour. So again, remember, this is the base engine and it has some pretty impressive specs and also some pretty impressive all electric range. Now, of course, with that heavy battery pack and the fact that this is a big luxury sedan, it is a heavy vehicle weighing in at just over 5,800 pounds. So again, she's no lightweight, but it has the power to certainly get all of this luxury and technology moving. But let's go ahead and close up the hood here and talk about the exterior styling, because after all, it is a Bentley. If you buy a vehicle like this, you're buying it because you want it to make a statement, and it's certainly going to make a statement with this paint job. This is Cumbrian green over Opacolite or something like that. It is a two-tone color that costs an extra $30,000. That's right, 30 grand for just the color, which honestly could be the cost of one new car for most people. But remember, it's a Bentley, so you're gonna be paying extra for a lot of features. You can see the Flying Bee hood ornament here is also in a gloss black. You can also get it in like a silver, a chrome, and like the gloss black finish as well. That's an extra $6,000 because this illuminates and it also pops in and out, kind of like the Spirit of Ecstasy from Rolls-Royce. You can see the grille. My particular test car has the black line specification, so it includes a blacked out grille. You can see the front camera is also integrated there in the middle with the radar system for the adaptive cruise control. This particular one that we're showing you has the touring specification for like an extra $7,000. It includes the driver assistance. You can see the headlights. I absolutely love the way Bentley does their headlights. You can see it almost has like a Swarovski crystal effect to them. They have around 120 individual LEDs in that headlight. You can see they also have an LED daytime running light, LED turn signals, LED low and high beams, and they definitely make a statement. It makes it almost look like a piece of jewelry at the front end, which that's what I love particularly about Bentleys. You can see the front fascia got a slight style refresh this year, although you'd have to park next to the old one to see it. You can see the front splitter looks a little bit more aggressive. I especially like the lighter green kind of mixed up with the darker green. This kind of two-tone color, while it is expensive, certainly gives this car that kind of presence to it that can basically make it stand out next to other vehicles like a Rolls-Royce or a Mercedes-Benz Maybach. Now, follow me around to the side profile of the vehicle. This is essentially Bentley's largest vehicle in their lineup. And Bentley only offers it in one size configuration here in the US. Its wheelbase is just shy of 126 inches long. Its overall length is just shy of 210 inches long. So compared to like a Continental GT, this vehicle is around a foot and a half longer. However, some of its competitors like the Maybach Mercedes is going to be around 7 inches longer. So kind of keep that in mind. This is a little bit on the smaller end when you're talking about the uber luxury premium sedans like this that cost, you know, well over 6 figures. Now, as you can see, the wheels on my particular test car look pretty carryover. Bentley does offer a choice of several different wheel options. However, these ones, as you can see, also have that the little B logo that also stays pretty much upright, which I believe that's an extra $600 for just the self-leveling logos. You can see the brakes, they are 15.7 inches in diameter. These are the conventional steel brakes with a 6-piston black painted caliper. I guess they call that beluga. The color is called beluga. You can see the tires are 275 by 35 R22, even fatter 315s in the rear. Even though this is an all-wheel drive car, it certainly has that staggered look to give it a really aggressive stance. You also have 4-wheel steering on this vehicle, which is now standard, and this vehicle comes with their adaptive air ride suspension with the Bentley Active Ride Control, which again should give this vehicle one of the best ride and handling dynamics you're going to find. Now, the rest of the styling profile, you can see, I love how the two-tone effect here kind of makes the vehicle stand out from the side. The side mirrors has like 2 different colors here with the Cumbrian green and the lighter green. As you can see, they're power folding mirrors, integrated turn signals, full 360 camera throughout. And then as you can see, looking at the roof, this vehicle does have a panoramic glass sunroof. I believe that's an extra $5,000 if you guys want the panoramic sunroof. It does open up to vent air, which I very much appreciate. It also helps to let in some additional light. It makes the cabin feel a little bit more open and airy. And then following me over to the rear, the design of this vehicle pretty much looks the same. Again, this got a very slight style refresh, but it's not as, you know, crazy different as what we saw on the Continental GT, which technically Bentley is calling that one a new generation. This is still, however, in its 4th generation. You can see the taillights have a really unique kind of jeweled look to the LEDs for back here. It actually almost creates almost like a B for Bentley, of course, in the taillights with the integrated LED turn signals, LED taillights and reverse lights, of course. The rear bumper also houses these really classic looking dual oval exhaust tips, which again, this vehicle may be a plug-in hybrid, but it comes standard with a twin turbocharged V8. So let's go ahead and fire it up. You guys can hear how the engine sounds real quick. Now again, this is a V8, and while it does have a soft limiter, it makes a pretty nice sound. It would sound even better, however, if they offered a sport or titanium exhaust on this vehicle, which I'm assuming they will offer that on the speed version at some point. Now, I also want to show you guys this little area here because this is new with the base engine, because this is now a plug-in hybrid. It comes standard, of course, with the J1772 plug, and this vehicle has an onboard charger of 11 kilowatts, which means you can basically charge it from 0 to 100% in just under 3 hours, which is not bad. No fast charger because this is a plug-in hybrid, but again, 50 miles of all-electric range is plenty for most people on their daily commutes. Now, the downside, of course, with this being a plug-in hybrid with that 26 kilowatt-hour battery pack is the trunk got a little bit smaller. Now, as you can see, we do have some things back here, but the trunk floor is noticeably higher because the battery pack lives underneath this floor here, which means you lose the underfloor storage space. And Bentley says you have around 12 cubic feet of space back here, which honestly is not a lot. The seats don't even fold down, and they also don't even have a pass-through, so that's something to keep in mind. Typically, people who buy these ultra luxury big sedans don't necessarily need to use this vehicle to carry a bunch of stuff. They typically have a different vehicle for that, but you have to kind of keep in mind, if you guys have a non-plug-in hybrid version, before they, when they used to offer it at the trunk, I believe offered up to 15 cubic feet. So it did shrink roughly 30% to accommodate the battery pack. Now, once you get past the very stately styling of the new Flying Spur, let's go ahead and talk about the interior, because that's always the big story when you're spending this kind of money for an ultra luxurious sedan. Now, as you can see, the exterior is Cumbrian green over the opalite. I think I mispronounced it earlier. However, but the interior is also Cumbrian green, which I love that kind of detail where it's matching the exterior. This is a dark green interior, which can be a little bit hard to see in when it's not in direct sunlight. It almost looks like a gray interior because the sun's not shining directly in here. It has a contrast white stitching. Of course, these seats adjust in like 20 different ways. They're heated, ventilated, and massaging. And of course, my test car has lots of additional options in this interior that's going to help drive the price up. The contrast stitch is an extra $3,000. It also has the Bentley logo, wing logo embroidered into the actual seat back. The seat headrests also have this really nice pillowy effect, although it's not a really plush pillow, but I think you can certainly get that as an option. And then the rest of the interior has lots of wood and leather materials. You can see the dash has this beautiful Cumbrian green, which you can actually see the green here when the sun's hitting it. The open pore burl walnut trim here also is included. Surprisingly, you have some real metal trim here, nice padded leather here. The window controls have that nice metallic look to them. They're actual metal. They also have a nice satisfying click. Same thing with the door handles. The leather continues all the way to the lower portion. You have 2-person memory on the driver, passenger, and for the rear seat. So again, it's a Bentley. You expect it to have all those different details. And then my particular test car also has the $14,000 name audio system. So I believe it's like 20 speakers and it sounds incredible. I just don't know if I would pay that much personally for an audio system. The base system has 10 speakers, and then there's also a mid-level Bang & Olufsen, which I personally would just go with that one. But let's go ahead and step inside the interior, and as you can see, it's got that typical sedan step-in height. As I shut the door, it does have a nice solid sounding thunk, and it also includes, of course, a soft close feature. What this car doesn't include, however, is auto closing and opening doors. That's something you find on many competitors, but for some reason Bentley decided that they're still not going to be doing that. You can get that, I think, on an EWB Bentayga for just the rear doors. Now, looking at the key fob, you can see Bentley has certainly a unique key fob that's different from every other vehicle in the Volkswagen Group umbrella. It's in this little leather pouch, as you can see. It has your usual buttons for lock, unlock. You can also remotely open the trunk, and it also has a panic feature. Bentley, I don't believe, offers a phone as a key option. Remember, that's typically reserved for, a lot newer vehicles that focus heavy on tech. Bentley tries to focus more on traditional luxury. Now, starting the vehicle up, the start-stop button here is in the center, as you can see. Push that. The vehicle just basically whirs to life. That rotating display also will reveal itself. It's a 12.3-inch display. That's an extra $7,000 if you guys want that rotating display, which is kind of ridiculous how expensive it is. But of course, because this is a plug-in hybrid, it starts up and it just says ready EV drive in the instrument panel. So there's no V8 exhaust noise. If you want the V8 noise, you can put it into the sport mode here, which will wake up the engine. It kind of just whirs to life. Again, it has a very, very soft 3,000 RPM rev limiter, but I like the fact that it's still a V8 because I think with a Bentley, you want it to have a nice growl. I never had a chance to drive the plug-in hybrid V6, which Bentley discontinued, of course, with this update they made for 2026. Now, looking at the rest of the interior, you can see the steering wheel looks very nice. This is actually an Audi RS steering wheel with different trim, a different look. You have the contrast white stitching here. The leather feels incredibly high quality. You have these metal paddle shifters here to control the 8-speed dual clutch transmission. Lots of buttons here to control the fully digital 12.3-inch cluster, where you can kind of change the way that looks by pushing this button. You can also put your GPS actually in there, although it's not quite the same as Audi's virtual cockpit. It's kind of a reskinned version with Bentley's, graphics kind of put into it. My test car also has a heads-up display. I believe that's part of the touring specification, and you also have beautiful real leather with contrast stitching over the dash. This burl walnut trim kind of goes across the dash as well. That kind of meets up with the door panel trim. And then this screen, as you can see, the 12.3-inch display is fully active here. It's got wireless Apple CarPlay and Android Auto. Bentley just added that for 2025. So it's nice to see. It's got their latest software, of course, and the screen also takes up the entire screen. Before, it only took up like a portion of the screen, and it left this side here where you couldn't make it full screen. So this definitely looks a lot more modern. It's a little easier to use. The graphics and icons are large, and if I want, I can push that screen button and I can reveal 3 separate dials here for your outside temperature, a compass, and it looks like a stopwatch timer. And then if you remember, there's 3 different sides. When you turn the vehicle off, it'll switch to just a wood veneer side with no additional options. Now, looking at the rest of the interior, you can see it's pretty much unchanged, so I'm not going to go into too much detail. You have these organ pulls where you can open and close the vents. They look nice, but they aren't real metal like what you'd find in a Rolls Royce. So obviously, there's a reason why Bentley is not quite as expensive. You do have a wireless phone charger over here, which, as you can see, can fit a large iPhone 16 Pro Max nicely. There's 2 USB-C charging ports and actually an actual 12-volt power outlet there. And then you can see, I really appreciate how Bentley has decided to keep buttons around. So I can see here there's buttons for your heated and cooled seats. There's the quad zone climate control function. Your audio, your climate control functionality is also here with the actual hard buttons with the knobs for your radio tuning, of course. Your drive mode selector is here. There's a sport Bentley mode, which is kind of like their perfect mode that gives you the nice, balance of ride and handling and comfort dynamics, of course. A comfort mode if you want it to be even quieter, and then a custom setting. And then, of course, you have an E mode here where you can switch it between hybrid mode, or you can also switch it between an EV drive. And then of course there are additional buttons here to close and open the shades. Your stability control off button is here. And then you have some nice wood over here. There is a little bit of piano black, which I don't like. And the shifter can be a little finicky because as you can see, the B logo is what you have to push if you want to shift the vehicle. So you have to push it forward to go into drive, which reveals the full 360 camera, which offers trajectory, distance markers, parking sensors, all that good stuff. And then you push the B logo and kick it back toward you to go into drive. Push the P button to go to park. Depending on how you hold the shifter, you can accidentally bump the park logo or the park button, so kind of keep that in mind. Cup holders over here. The one thing that infuriates me about flying Spurs is this center console, while it does slide forward and back, it doesn't open. I don't understand why this doesn't open up to give me additional storage. I found that to be annoying because there's not much storage options in the front center console area for this vehicle. Now the seats, they are covered in a premium leather material. I believe it's like a Napa leather. I like how there's no Alcantara. The seats, the heat and the ventilation function works well, the cooling function works well. It offers different massage levels, of course, where you can basically push a button here and you can pull up like 5 different types of massages, 5 different types of intensities. The massage lasts for about 10 minutes, then it shuts off and you have to turn it back on every single time, which is kind of annoying. The glove box, as you can see, is a bin style. It goes into the dash, it's damped and lined with felt. It actually is a really nice storage option because, again, not much storage here in the center console. The rearview mirror, as you can see, it's an auto-dimming frameless style. It looks really elegant, but no digital camera rearview mirror. And then you can see here, my test car has leather covering the actual sun visors and then an Alcantara on the roof material, along with the sunroof that does have a retractable shade. It also does open up to vent air. And again, it looks very nice in this vehicle. It's an extra like $4,000 if you guys want that feature. But overall, the interior still feels very high quality. It's not, amazing in terms of technology. The software is improved, but I love the traditional feel with all the actual buttons. The two 12.3-inch digital clusters look nice, and the seats are also comfortable. This vehicle, remember, is hand built in England, and the build quality for this particular one here has been actually really, really good. So let's go ahead and hop into the back seat. I can show you guys what that space is like really quick, because this is a kind of vehicle that you might want to be chauffeured around in. So when you get back here, Bentley says you have around 42 inches of legroom back here. 42 inches is certainly good, but a Mercedes-Benz Maybach S-Class has around 5 more inches of legroom, so kind of keep that in mind. As I close the door, you can see it still has the same solid sounding thunk, and it also includes the soft close feature if you don't want to shut it hard, but still, again, no automatic closing and opening doors. You can see the door panel has the same beautiful leather and metal trim accented all throughout the actual door panel. Even on the lower portion here, you have a little bit of a storage area here. Like I said earlier, you have 2-person memory back here on both sides, and you can also power adjust these seats to how you'd like them to be. But kind of keep that in mind. They don't have the same kind of recline functionality as I'd expect from the front seat. You can move the seat forward, which if you do that, you can see it significantly reduces the legroom back here, but this is kind of the only way you can get to have, or you can adjust the seat to have like an actual recline function. And it certainly is comfortable. I love the pillows that this comes with back here. So this is a car, again, that'll remind you might want to be chauffeured around in. In terms of additional features, you can see over here in the center area, there's a screen that's like maybe 5 inches. It's not very big, and it's also a little bit of a far reach, which can be kind of annoying, but Bentley's solution for that is you tap this little button right here, the screen will pop out, and you can essentially control almost anything you'd like from back here, including the blinds. You can also raise and lower the flying B or hood ornament there, which I love how you can do from back here. You can change the ambient lighting. You can also turn on your massaging seats, which you can do right here, going to the wellness, going to the massage function. It's basically the same massage with the 5 different intensity levels from the front seat, and it all works extremely well. You can also control the driver's seat and move, or the passenger's front seat and move that forward if you're sitting over here. This is honestly going to be the best seat in the house because you could push this forward and you can really recline the seat quite nicely. And this particular model that we're showing you here has the optional rear seat entertainment package, and you also have these little convex mirrors where you can essentially just check out to make sure your hair or your makeup is looking good before you get to your event that you're going to. Back here you also have a retractable sunshade where you have this panoramic glass roof. This does not open up, however, to vent air, and if you want, you can also close the shades here. You have these power retractable peasant blockers, which it actually, when you have everything closed in this back seat area, it creates a very private cocoon-like area, which I particularly love. The center console area, at least, does give you the ability to open this up. You can't do it from the front, but you can do it back here with, of course, your 2 USB-C charging ports, a 12-volt power outlet here. You also have cup holders here, which is definitely a plus. And then it looks like there's something else here, but I can't get that to open up right now, so I don't think there's anything there that pops out. But as you can see, you do have rear seat air vents, the same organ pulls that allow you to open and close the vents, additional vents here on the pillars. And then in terms of the headroom space, you can see I have maybe a couple additional inches of headroom back here. The glass roof obviously is over my head and it creates a little bit more headroom space. But I mean, overall, with around 42 inches of legroom and most of the tech and luxury features that you'd want, it certainly is going to be, pretty nice. The one thing I forgot to mention, my test car, I love this feature, has the power opening and closing trays. This actually makes this interior even nicer because you could easily set up a laptop back here, get some work done. I believe, again, that's part of an extra charge, but overall, again, if you want to be driven around, while this vehicle can certainly get the job done, just keep in mind some competitors do offer even more rear seat legroom space. So if you guys have never had a chance to drive a Bentley Flying Spur, if you're an enthusiast, this car is going to definitely surprise you because your expectations when you see a vehicle like this, it's really long, it's really plush, it's really stately. You don't expect it to be a driver's car, but this is exactly where the Flying Spur will shock a lot of people because it shares an underpinnings with the Porsche Panamera. This rides on the Volkswagen Group's MSB architecture, so it's a longitudinally mounted engine with an all-wheel drive platform, although it tries to favor more rear drive dynamics because that all-wheel drive system can send more power to the rear wheels. The model that we're driving is the new base engine, which means it has a twin-turbo V8 plug-in hybrid, good for 0 to 60 in 3.8 seconds, according to Bentley. So let's go ahead and see what we can get here and just try it out on this little straight stretch of road. It should include launch control because of the dual clutch, but I can't get it to actually activate it, but we'll try it here. All right, so on that first run, we got 3.7 seconds. Now, I do want to point out we are going slightly downhill, and we are also driving the vehicle at around 7,600 feet above sea level. So that's a little over a mile above sea level, which is going to affect the power. Although, of course, with the turbocharging and the electrification, it should help to make the sluggishness of this vehicle kind of at a minimum compared to a naturally aspirated engine. This V8 still sounds great. I mean, it's a twin turbocharged 4-liter. This is like the Volkswagen, Audi, Porsche, gem engine that you can find in so many other performance products. And the only thing I would really complain about is I think it's a little too quiet. That could be easily solved, of course, if you guys wanted to pick the speed version. Remember, the speed model has an extra 100 horsepower over this version, which at 671 horsepower combined, that's already a ton of power. It has more power than the old Flying Spur Speed with the 12-cylinder. That had around 626 horsepower. So it wouldn't surprise me if this vehicle could do 0 to 60 in the mid to low 3-second mark if you have it at sea level and you have it on the appropriate road. This car is definitely big, and you can feel how long the car is. At 209 inches long, it is, among the longer vehicles you could buy for a, big luxury sedan, but not quite as long as a Mercedes-Benz Maybach, which kind of, again, reminds you why this vehicle is more of the driver's car. The steering in the vehicle actually delivers a decent amount of feel. It's also quick to respond. The suspension in this vehicle with the active ride control air suspension also is pretty good at just making sure that you don't have too much body lean. Let's try another run here. Still have it in sport. Oof. That transmission shifts so fast, 3.8 seconds there, and that's with it a little bit on level ground. So keep in mind, again, we are at 7,000 feet above sea level. I also have 2 additional people in the car, and it's able to do 3.8, which is what Bentley claims. So I estimate it's going to be a little bit faster than that, maybe 3.5 seconds when we get one back home, hopefully at some point to retest. But I mean, overall, you're not going to complain about the power. This vehicle does offer different drive modes. I've had it in sport the entire time. If I switch it into the Bentley mode here, this is where it will prioritize electric driving, because while I can't really charge or test out the full electric range, it's showing 27 miles on pure electric power alone. This vehicle will favorite driving in electricity alone when you have it in these modes. Now, there is a certain point past the gas pedal where it will wake up the gas engine. And remember, when you drive it in EV mode, it only has around 188 horsepower, which is not a lot. So it can accelerate on its own fine, but it certainly doesn't give you the level of acceleration you expect from a Bentley. I imagine most people are going to switch it into the sport mode, wake up the engine, or you can also push a button here to take it out of EV mode and put it into its hybrid drive mode. The model that we're driving has a 22-inch wheel, and it has a pretty good ride quality. In fact, the air suspension with the adaptive dampers do a really good job of soaking up the bumps. Any kind of imperfections just gets absorbed. The seats are also comfortable. I mean, I'm sitting here getting a massage. And then in terms of the visibility, the view out of the front and the side is good, although this A-pillar is a little bit thick. The one thing I don't like is the steering wheel doesn't come out far enough, at least for me. So I always tell people, try the driving position out for yourself, make sure it works for you. The view out of the back is obscured a little bit by the head restraints that are back there, and that could be solved if Bentley just offered a a digital camera review mirror, but a lot of European brands just don't follow that route. That's something that the Japanese do, the Americans, the Koreans do. So I'm hoping at some point they'll address that. But I mean, overall, this vehicle essentially drives the same way that, as the last Flying Spur that I drove. I mean, my absolute favorite Flying Spur that I drove was the Speed with the 12-cylinder engine because it had such a unique engine node. This 4-liter V8 and this base engine to me is a little too quiet, so I'll have to wait and reserve my final judgment until I drive the Speed version again, because I just drove yesterday the Bentayga Speed with the twin turbo V8 without the electrification and that Akrapovic exhaust system. It sounded so good. I'm hoping at some point Bentley should be offering that exhaust, that titanium exhaust on the Speed, because the electric motor portion of this powertrain I think kind of just numbs out the sound of the engine a little bit. I'm not entirely sure if they put a quieter exhaust system on the car, but it certainly still has the speed that you expect from a Bentley. It just doesn't have the same kind of emotion and visceral drama from the last Flying Spur Speed that I tested with the 12-cylinder. So that's the reason why I'm really stuck on just the whole visceral experience from my earlier interpretations of the Flying Spur. But this plug-in hybrid powertrain I think is going to be better suited for people who plan to daily this vehicle, because they're going to get better gas mileage, better range, and a lot more quietness, which is kind of the whole point when you're buying a vehicle of this caliber. Now, over the past couple of years, I've been lucky enough to be able to drive a few different powertrain variations for this third-generation Flying Spur. We first started our journey driving the Speed with the W12-cylinder engine. That did 0 to 60 in 3.5 seconds. I fell in love with the car because of its sporty handling dynamics and the sound of that 12-cylinder engine. We also managed to drive an Edition 8 model, which had the twin turbocharged V8 without the electrification. That model was also fantastic. It made all the right noises. It was a little bit less expensive. It was a little bit lighter, and it did 0 to 60 in 3.8 seconds. So now that we're here driving the new base engine, which is that 4-liter V8 with the plug-in hybrid powertrain, the electric motor, of course, it certainly changes the personality of the Flying Spur, because on one side of the spectrum, you could basically drive this vehicle like a pure electric car, although it only gives you around 188 horsepower. It's not the quickest, but it certainly can get the job done in around town driving. I'll have to wait until I get one back home to test out the actual electric-only range, but again, Bentley claims 50 miles, and it has one of the larger battery packs you're going to find in the segment. Now, when you switch it into sport mode, this vehicle's personality certainly changes. I love the sound of that 4-liter twin turbo V8, the dual clutch transmission, and the way this thing handles really makes you reminded that this vehicle shares a platform with the Porsche Panamera, which is honestly one of the best driving large luxury sedans you're going to find. And I love the fact that Bentley, makes driving, feel a priority here. This feels like a driver's car, which is very different versus if you guys are driving around in a Mercedes Maybach or a Rolls-Royce Ghost, for example. Now, of course, all of this luxury, prestige, and brand image doesn't come cheap, because if you want to get your hands on Flying Spur, Bentley has obviously increased the pricing over the years. And while they don't have final US pricing just yet for the V8 plug-in hybrid, we do have the pricing in British pounds, which was showing it at around 196,000 pounds. If you do a straight conversion, that would mean the base price of this car is about $270,000. Remember, that's for a plug-in hybrid twin turbocharged V8. So it's obviously going to be more expensive than the old Flying Spur, which had a twin turbocharged V6 with an electric motor. Of course, this is a Bentley. It comes with so many different options that you can add, and to be honest, it has so many options. I always need to pull out my little cheat sheet here to read off to what are some of the features it has. Now, obviously, the paintwork, like I said, is an extra $30,000. The name premium sound system is like an extra $14,000. The touring specification, the 22-inch bright machined and black painted wheels, the rotating display, the Flying Spur black line specification, the Flying Bee hood ornament, the wellness seating, the panoramic sunroof, contrast stitching. I mean, when you add all of that in, it brings the total price of this model that we're showing you here to right around $350,000 US dollars. Of course, that's my estimation. Bentley hasn't quite announced the actual final pricing for the US specification versions just yet. We should be having that very soon. So obviously, a vehicle like this doesn't come cheap. You could easily get into a Mercedes-Benz Maybach for about $100,000 less, but some would argue that it's basically a guzzied up Mercedes. But some of you may also argue that this is a guzzied up Audi or Porsche, but at the same time, Bentley has this kind of feel that makes it feel a lot more special. And if you guys are also, comparing this to a Rolls-Royce Ghost, you could say this is a bargain because the Rolls is easily going to be an extra $100,000 to $150,000. But again, that's a Rolls-Royce, and for some people, the badge makes all the difference. But with all that said, hope you guys have enjoyed my full overview on the brand new 2026 Bentley Flying Spur. If you're also looking to see the latest cars I'm testing, be sure to follow me on Instagram at Redline_reviews. Like us on Facebook, and as always, guys, please keep subscribing to the Redline Reviews YouTube channel for all the latest reviews. Thank you so much for watching. I'll catch you all in the next video.